All right, let's dive into one of those questions that's, well, let's be honest, it's a little funny, but you've definitely thought about it on a freezing cold day.
You know the scene. It's so cold you can see your own breath puffing out in front of you like a tiny cloud. And then the thought hits you. If I can see my breath, what about a fart? It's a classic bit of winter curiosity for sure.
So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. The short answer? It's a pretty big no. But wait, that simple no actually opens up a way more interesting question. Why? If our breath shows up so clearly, why do other emissions stay invisible?
To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to put these two head-to-head. Think of it like a scientific showdown. Breath versus fart. It's a tale of two very, very different gases.
So, on one side, you've got your breath. Its secret weapon? It's absolutely loaded with water vapor. That's what creates the visible mist. On the other side, you've got farts. They're mostly made of gases like nitrogen and methane. And the key difference, the one thing they're really missing, is water. Let's break down exactly why that's such a game changer.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about something we've all seen a million times, that little white cloud that appears when you breathe out on a cold day. What is that really?
The whole thing boils down to one simple process: condensation. This is basically nature's little magic trick, where water in its gas form, what we call water vapor, cools down so fast that it turns back into tiny droplets of liquid water.
Here's how it goes down step by step. First, you breathe out warm, really moist air from your lungs. It's just packed with water vapor. The second that warm, wet air hits the freezing cold outside, bam! It cools down instantly. That sudden drop in temperature forces the water vapor to condense into millions and millions of microscopic liquid water droplets. All those droplets bunched together form the cloud that we see. The absolute hero of this story, the only reason it works, is water.
All right, so now we're all experts on breath clouds. Let's take that same science and see why our other subject completely flunks the visibility test.
Just take a look at the chemical breakdown here. A fart is made up of mostly nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, and hydrogen. All of these gases are just naturally invisible. But look really close. You see that tiny, razor-thin slice of the pie? That's the water vapor. Barely there.
And that, right there, is the whole secret. That's the aha moment. Unlike our moisture-soaked breath, farts contain a minuscule, tiny amount of water vapor. And if you don't have enough water, there's nothing to condense into a visible cloud. It doesn't matter how cold it gets. The main ingredients just aren't there for the magic trick to work.
But just for the fun of it, in the spirit of good science, we have to ask, is there any possible scenario, any what if, where you could maybe see something?
Well, for even a tiny chance, you would need the most ridiculous, perfect storm of conditions. We're talking extremely cold, but also paradoxically very humid air. You'd have to be wearing next to nothing, you'd have to be viewing it from super, super close, and the lighting would have to be just right. The odds of all of this happening at once are, well, they're pretty much zero. And here's the real kicker. Even if you manage to align all those stars, you're still not going to see some kind of white puff. Nope. The best you could hope for is maybe a slight, split-second shimmer in the air, kind of like the heat rising off a hot road in the summer. It's just a tiny distortion. That's it. Pretty underwhelming, right?
So to wrap this all up, this quote really says it perfectly. No matter how cold Canada gets, farts are invisible. You can only smell them, not see them. It all comes down to that one critical missing ingredient, water. So you can rest easy. This is one winter cloud you'll never, ever have to walk through.